For more than 30 years, Conan O'Brien has quietly done something no other late-night host has mastered. While most talk show hosts carefully control every conversation, Conan built an entire career around letting things go off script. That sounds simple, but it completely changed the way audiences viewed celebrity interviews. Most late-night television follows the same formula. The host flatters the guest promotes their latest movie or project, everyone laughs on cue, and the audience forgets the interview 5 minutes later. But Conan's style was always different. His awkward humor, unpredictable timing, and willingness to sit in uncomfortable silence often pushed guests into revealing who they really were, and sometimes what they revealed wasn't flattering. Conan understood something very early in his career. Celebrities are performers even when they're not acting. Every interview is part of a carefully built public image, but if you create enough chaos, enough unpredictability, or enough freedom, eventually that image starts to crack. That's when things become interesting. One of the clearest examples came during an infamous interview with billionaire Richard Branson and actress Salma Hayek. At first, the segment looked like a normal late-night appearance, but within minutes, Branson repeatedly touched Hayek in ways that made the entire audience uncomfortable. Conan noticed immediately. He joked about it at first, but the discomfort became impossible to hide. The interview slowly transformed into a perfect example of how wealth and power can completely distort someone's sense of boundaries. Branson acted like the rules simply didn't apply to him. And honestly, in his world, they probably didn't. Conan didn't interrupt the moment with a speech or a dramatic confrontation. Instead, he let the audience see everything unfold naturally. That was always his greatest strength. He trusted viewers to recognize uncomfortable truths on their own. This approach separated Conan from almost every other host in television. He wasn't trying to protect celebrity images. He wasn't trying to create fake viral moments. He simply allowed people to expose themselves, and many of them did. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, late-night television was chaotic in a way that would never survive today. Guests regularly showed up drunk, exhausted, emotionally unstable, or completely unprepared. Networks still cared about ratings, but the internet hadn't yet turned every mistake into a permanent scandal. That created some unforgettable television. Actor Dax Shepard once appeared on Conan's show and immediately crashed backward through furniture, seconds after walking on stage. What followed was a completely chaotic interview filled with rambling stories, awkward pauses, and failed jokes. Years later, Shepard admitted he was struggling heavily with addiction during that period of his life. He even revealed that he had been banned from returning to the show until he got sober. But what made the moment memorable wasn't just the chaos. It was the fact that Conan didn't panic. He somehow managed to turn the disaster into entertaining television while still letting viewers see how out of control things had become. That balance is incredibly difficult. Most hosts either overreact or completely fake their way through awkward moments. Conan always seemed to operate somewhere in the middle. He acknowledged the chaos while still keeping the comedy alive. Another unforgettable example involved actress Kari Vurer. What started as a normal interview quickly spiraled into complete confusion. She insulted fellow guest Stephen Wright, flirted aggressively with Conan, shouted random phrases for no reason, and constantly tried to redirect attention back toward herself. The strangest part wasn't the bizarre behavior itself. It was her visible frustration whenever the audience laughed at Conan instead of her. You could actually see the resentment on her face. Conan spent the entire interview trying to rescue the segment from disaster, but beneath the comedy, the interaction exposed something deeper about celebrity culture. For many public figures, attention becomes addictive. Every room becomes a competition. Every interaction becomes about validation. Conan seemed fascinated by these moments because they revealed what existed underneath the polished Hollywood image, and sometimes the results were unbelievably uncomfortable. Conan himself has repeatedly called legendary director Abel Ferrara the worst guest he ever interviewed. The story sounds almost fictional. Before his scheduled appearance, Ferrara literally ran out of the building. Producers chased him through the streets of Manhattan before finally convincing him to return. When he eventually sat down for the interview, he barely made sense. He mumbled incoherently, waved around an unlit cigarette, avoided eye contact, and occasionally shouted random responses at Conan. Most television networks would have canceled the segment immediately. Conan aired it anyway. The interview became legendary because it showed something audiences rarely get to see anymore: reality. Messy, uncomfortable, unpredictable reality. That authenticity is largely gone from modern late-night television. Today, interviews feel heavily scripted. Publicists control every talking point. Celebrities arrive with prepared stories, rehearsed jokes, and perfectly polished personalities. Nothing feels spontaneous anymore. That's one reason podcasts exploded in popularity. People became desperate for conversations that felt real again. And Conan recognized this shift early. When he launched Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, the concept itself was built around honesty. Conan joked that after decades of interviewing celebrities, he realized he hadn't actually become friends with any of them. The joke worked because there was truth behind it. Conan always understood that Hollywood operates like a giant performance. People promote projects, protect their brands, and carefully maintain public images. But podcasts changed the format entirely. Instead of 6-minute promotional interviews interrupted by commercial breaks, conversations could now last over an hour. Eventually, guests relaxed. Their real personalities started to emerge. Sometimes that worked beautifully. Other times, it completely backfired. Listeners frequently noticed how certain celebrities behaved once the polished television format disappeared. Some came across as arrogant. Others seemed deeply insecure. A few appeared almost incapable of holding a genuine conversation. Conan's audience started noticing something important. Authenticity matters more than image. That philosophy also shaped how Conan handled powerful executives throughout his career. One of the biggest examples involved comedian Norm Macdonald. During the 1990s, Norm repeatedly joked about O.J. Simpson on Saturday Night Live. NBC executive Don Ohlmeyer, who was reportedly close friends with Simpson, became furious and pushed to remove Norm from television appearances. Conan was reportedly told to stop booking him. Most hosts would have obeyed immediately. Network executives control careers. Defying them is dangerous. Conan ignored the order. He continued inviting Norm onto the show because he believed comedy mattered more than protecting powerful people from criticism. That decision revealed a side of Conan many people overlook. Beneath the awkward humor and self-deprecating jokes was someone deeply committed to creative independence. Years later, Conan faced his own major battle with NBC during the Tonight Show controversy. After being promised the legendary Tonight Show desk, Conan finally achieved what many comedians considered the ultimate career goal. But only months later, NBC attempted to push him into a later time slot so Jay Leno could return. To Conan, it felt like a betrayal. But instead of collapsing publicly, he responded the only way he knew how: through comedy. He mocked the network on air with ridiculous comedy sketches, expensive fake props, and absurd jokes designed to embarrass NBC without sounding bitter. Audiences sided with him almost immediately because his frustration felt genuine. For one of the first times, viewers saw the entertainment industry's corporate side exposed in public. And Conan never fully forgot that experience. Over time, he became increasingly vocal about the dangers of modern outrage culture, especially in comedy. He argued that comedians lose their power when they stop being funny and focus only on anger. That doesn't mean avoiding criticism or pretending everything is fine. Conan has criticized politicians, executives, media companies, and celebrity culture throughout his career. But he believes humor works best when it exposes truth naturally instead of screaming political slogans. That philosophy might be old-fashioned today, but it's also why Conan has remained respected while much of late-night television struggles to survive. Modern audiences can sense when something feels fake, and Conan rarely feels fake. Whether he's interviewing movie stars, arguing with executives, embarrassing himself for comedy, or letting awkward moments unfold naturally, there's always a sense that he genuinely values authenticity over image. That's incredibly rare in entertainment, especially now. In a media world dominated by outrage, branding, algorithms, and carefully manufactured personalities, Conan's style feels almost rebellious. He reminds audiences that comedy doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. Sometimes the funniest moments happen when everything falls apart. And sometimes the most revealing thing you can do is simply let the camera keep rolling. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which Conan moment you think was the most unforgettable.